We are living in a time of unprecedented change and demand for music teachers. With so much on our plates, it's easy to feel burnt out and lose ourselves in our work. Today, we're talking with my friend and mentor, Sara Campbell, a business and marketing strategist for music teachers, about the real-life challenges we face and how we can achieve sustainable music teacher work-life balance.
It's the Happy Music Teacher!
Are you an elementary music teacher who's frustrated and overwhelmed? I'm Jeanette, a happy music teacher who loves teaching every day, but it wasn't long ago I was in your shoes. Join me Wednesdays to help you find happy in your music classroom. I am so thrilled to have Sara on the podcast because Sara and I we've known each other for probably, I think, 4 years, maybe even a little bit longer. And Sara has been my coach and my mentor, and she is doing so many amazing things. And I just felt strongly that I wanted to have her on. And I think that what she has to offer is going to be so exciting for you. So, Sara, welcome.
Thank you so much, Jeanette. I was so excited when you reached out about this because, like you said, we've known each other for a while, and what a fun opportunity to get to have a conversation so that other teachers can listen in.
I know. It's so exciting.
Sure.
So tell us a little bit about what you started out doing. Like, I know you were a music teacher, but tell us a little bit about where you started and where you are today.
Sure. So I would say that I started as a theater nerd, and
And you're still a theater nerd.
I am still a theater nerd. I just finished a run of Sweeney Todd as Mrs. Lovett. And I have a background in piano. I took, lessons since I was 5. I've been singing forever. I did the whole music school thing. I've got like 2 fancy degrees, like a degree in vocal performance and also a degree in musicology. And initially I wanted to be a professor. And in fact, I did adjunct teaching for a number of years. And then I decided I really want to work for myself because, let's face it, adjunct teaching, the rates are abysmal for most teachers. So I opened, I worked for a couple of multi-teacher studios, found that I didn't like not being in charge of, how you collect money and the boundaries that you set. So that's why I opened my own music studio. And that studio has been open for 15 years now.
Nice.
Yeah, so yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So I guess start out by just giving us a little bit of background on who you are and where you come from and why you're doing what you're doing.
I am a business and marketing strategist for music teachers, and how did I get here? I got here in so many different ways. I started blogging about my studio way back in, I think, 2010 or 2012, and I started talking about what I was doing behind the scenes, how I was structuring things, how I was marketing things, and just over the years started guest blogging and guest podcasting and doing all this stuff, and then working for different organizations. And then we launched Savvy Music Studio in 2019. And so it's my big why behind this is that I very much understand how difficult it is to be a music teacher, whether you're like running an independent music studio or you're working in a classroom. What we do is really unique. It's extremely important to the world. And so I wanted to become a support system for teachers because what we do is hard.
It is. It's really hard. So I will say that you have been such a great support system to me, and I know you have a new membership coming up that we'll talk about later that I'm going to be a part of, and I'm really, really excited about that. And, I think without you, my business, and if you are a person that is wanting to start any kind of a business, you want to sell on TPT, or you want to be in the music teacher studio field where, you're teaching private lessons or even group lessons or whatever, Sara is such an amazing resource. And then, she has this whole message of just running things in a way that fills your heart and makes you feel peaceful and fulfilled. And, so that's why I really felt strongly that you needed to be on the podcast. So what can you tell us about what really sets your work apart? Like, translate what you do in your business. What kind of strategies do you use that really help music teachers, and why are you different? Why are you unique?
Okay. So, there are a lot of people out there that have either programs or systems. Some people are coaching. And I think something that sets me apart is that I'm not selling a system. I'm not telling teachers, here's how I did this thing, like just follow these steps and you'll find success like me. Because I think that kind of a model it's inherently flawed, because just because something worked for somebody else does not mean it's going to translate for a lot of other people, because there are so many conditions that need to be in place. So I think what sets me apart is that I approach this with a like your life first kind of approach, looking at, what do you want to do as a human being? What do you want to do outside of work? And how can we craft your business to support you as a human and as the unique teacher that you are? So I really focus on helping people figure out their own systems and what they want, rather than telling them, here, just do A, B, C, and D, and you're going to be successful.
And that's what I found, when you and we've worked together several times in different capacities. And that was one of the things that I found, was that, we started with, what is my why? And we did, I don't remember the assessment that we did, but we did an assessment that a personality assessment. Which one was that?
Clifton Strengths.
Yes, Clifton Strengths. And really that kind of gave me a feel for, it was a great way to start, and it kind of took me aback. I was like, well, how does this have anything to do with my business? And now I know that it really has everything to do with my business, because our businesses work and our teacher, like our classrooms work, because of the way that we are, that our unique personality is what makes us successful no matter what. So I found that to be very interesting. And that was kind of the basis for our work together. And, I like to do that as well. I'm also like, I don't want to have a specific framework. That's why I have my Happy Music Teacher Academy, is because, I can't hand you a framework and say, this is what worked for me and it's going to work for you too. It's kind of a give and take, and it's an exploration of what's going to work best for you and how can you use your unique personality to make yourself shine, make your students shine, all the things. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's, we all think differently. The way that our brains process things, the way that we learn, and it's really important to understand like how you work best, because if we ignore that, then we might set up our business in a way, or set up our life in a way that just feels like we're wearing ill-fitting shoes. Mm-hmm. So I think that's one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about why I do the things that I do.
And I think, we look at social media and we look at these amazing teachers and really amazing people who are running their lives the perfect way. And all we see is what they put out there. And we don't see any of the behind the scenes and, the burnout that they're experiencing because of everything that they're doing, or the lack of interest that maybe their students have, or you know what I mean? Like you don't see anything but what they're putting out there to you. So I think that, it's really easy to look at somebody else and be like, oh, they have it all together. but really nobody has it all together. And that's why you need a coach to walk you through whatever it happens to be, whatever the challenge, or maybe not a coach, but like a support system in place. So what are some common challenges that you see in teachers today, music teachers today, and how are some ways that you can help us approach things in a way that feels more easier, if you will?
Yeah. So you mentioned the term burnout, and I think that is something that I see a lot of nowadays. And I want to, also just differentiate between like actual clinical burnout, which is a really serious condition, right? Yeah. And that you are feeling burnt out. Right. So we can speak to both of those. But today I'm more talking about like feeling burnt out. If you are clinically burnt out, it is time to get to a doctor, get a support, get a therapist, get all the support systems in place. But, a lot of us are kind of in this just like mild phase of burnout because, whether you're like, if you're in a classroom, and I'm sure that you probably talk about this on the podcast, like classroom music teachers are being asked to do so much more than they were in the past because they've absorbed like 5 different positions and, there's no lunch break, there's no planning period. Like that's, that kind of a thing. And for the people who are teaching independently, when you're working for yourself, it can be really, really hard to leave your business, like at the end of the day, to be able to shut the door and say, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to think about it anymore. Like if you were working a 9-to-5 job and you had to like punch out or something, it's really hard to punch out. So I think that that's one of the biggest things I see with clients who come to me is that they feel like they're working all the time and they have a really hard time learning to clock out. Mm-hmm. And so that's like one of the biggest things. And that's where I like to start with people is to figure out like, hey, what are you doing outside of work? Like, how are you treating yourself?
Yeah.
And really looking at that. I think that's the number one issue that I see nowadays.
And I would agree with that. And that is something, going into the Facebook groups and trying to help people out. And, in the academy, that is a very big deal. And, we have a lot of guilt as teachers. We want to help. We always want to help. And we also have this kind of syndrome of nobody can run my classroom or nobody can teach my students like I do. And I think taking time off is probably harder for private music teachers because there is nobody else. You can't hire a sub to teach your classes. So if you're sick, you feel this need to, or you just need a mental health day or whatever, you feel this need to, go in anyway. And I think that classroom music teachers as well, we have the same issue because, we feel like, first of all, it's so hard to plan for a sub. And that's a question I get all the time in the academy and in the Facebook groups. What do I do? Because I've got this, this vast curriculum that I can't share with anybody else because nobody's a music teacher that's on the sub list. So, and so you end up going in when you really shouldn't. And I agree with you that even for myself, like I'm now teaching very part-time. I teach like 5 hours a week plus a little bit of planning time. And I'm having trouble shutting off, at the end of like last night, I was getting ready to sit down and watch some TV with my husband. And he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I just have to answer this email really quick, and I feel this like, I don't know, this tension all the time so it is, it's a really, really hard thing to deal with. So what do you have? What suggestions can you offer to help us through that feeling of burnout or overwhelm?
Oh, there's so many things that we could talk about. Let me see. I think one of the most important things and maybe one of the hardest things is boundary setting. Mm-hmm. And I'm not even talking about we can talk about boundary setting like with students, boundary setting with like parents and administrators and, whatever. But it's the boundary setting with ourselves
Yes.
that I feel like is the trickiest part. So you just mentioned things like, hey, you're going to sit down and you're going to like relax for the evening or whatever. And then you find yourself pulled to, oh, let me just write that one more email, or let me just, for me, it's like, oh, just let me pop through Slack and see what's happening in all the Slack workspaces that I'm in. Being able to set boundaries with yourself around this is when I'm working, this is when I'm not, can be super tricky, especially because everything is at our fingertips in that cell phone or at that, at that iPad or that laptop, and technology is so portable. So, and if you do anything like inside of Facebook groups or things like that, and, the social media has now turned into like a form of work. So being able to set boundaries around when you are going to engage with work things is something that takes a lot of effort, because it's not just like a one time, I'm going to set this boundary and then I'm going to maintain it, right? You have to set that boundary every time you pick up your phone, and it has to become a habit of setting those boundaries and keeping them. And of course, also knowing that sometimes you're going to bend the rules for yourself, but you get to be the person who chooses to do that. What I find more often than not, and I am like 100% guilty of this, is that I'll bend my rules too much. And then, right. And then, and after doing that for so long, you start to notice, hey, I'm tired, like more tired than I feel like I should be. Or you have a really hard time shutting off your brain when you're trying to sleep. Or it's like the first thing that you think of when you wake up. And so creating these boundaries for ourselves so that we can be people outside of our professions is an everyday battle for a lot of people.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I have actually dreamed, like, I'll have a business idea in my dream and I have to get up and put it in my phone right away, like the minute I wake up. But I have definitely set some boundaries for myself. I don't start my workday. I will sometimes listen to a podcast, but more often than not, I take a walk every morning and I talk to my son. And right now, all three of my sisters are calling me because one is off work and the other two they drop their kids off at school. So we'll all call. So it's like five of us on the phone every morning. So that's really lovely. It kind of fills my heart. And then I try to do either a workout or some yoga. And then I'll watch the news. I'll sit down and have my coffee. I do not start my workday until 10 o'clock. I have a hard, fast rule about that. And that one I have done really well with because I feel like I need that time. The hard part for me is unplugging during the day. But like today, Randy, my husband, was like, let's go to the movies. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. But we're going to go to the movies and I am going to leave my phone at home. And I can't tell you, I've started to do that. Like if we're going out to dinner, or we're going to the movies, or, we're doing like a date night or a date afternoon or whatever. If I leave my phone at home, I can't tell you how much less stressed. I don't have that like this kind of thing in my chest, So it's really an effective way, but I sometimes forget to leave it at home. So I have to really make a conscious effort. And I think that music teachers, wherever you are, that's what we have to do. We have to set some boundaries for ourselves. And I'm so glad you said that because, a lot of times people think setting boundaries, okay, we need to set boundaries with our students and with our parents and our principal or whatever it happens to be. But you also need to set boundaries for yourself. I love that. So talk a little bit about what kinds of services you offer and what are some of the resources that you have out there for music teachers?
Okay, sure. So I do lots of different things, but we have some like main areas that people can explore. So certainly I'm a one-on-one coach. That's like one of my favorite things to do is to work, with individuals and helping them figure out how to structure their business so that it supports their life. That's like one of my main passions. So one-on-one coaching, so much fun. I love being able to see the transformations.
Because I got to work with you like that, and I miss it. I miss it so much.
I love working one-on-one with people. I also do a lot of other things as well. So we have some services that are more kind of like DIY, because I know that a lot of people are looking for like solid resources out there. And in the very near future, actually, I think by the time you listen to this podcast, it will be live. We have something called the Music Teachers Marketing Library, and that is a collection of resources that I have been putting together for a long time, where you can learn about all the different ways that you can market your business. And I'm not just, sometimes when people think of market, they're like immediately thinking about social media, but that's like one of the smaller parts of what that library is about. I'm very excited about that. So that's a fun, like good entry level for people to come in and explore and see the way that I teach. And once a year, we run this really fun program. It has a funny name, but it's kind of ties into what the thing is. So it's called Brave Pants.
Totally you. It's like totally. I read it the first time and I was like, oh, that is such a Sara name.
I brainstormed so hard about this. So I've been teaching a brand
because I interrupted you.
Sure. So I have a program that I've been running for, let me think about this. This will be the 6th year that we've run this program, and we recently renamed it last year. It's kind of funny sounding, but stick with me. It's called the Brave Pants Branding and Marketing Program. And there's a whole story behind Brave Pants, and if you want to read about it, you have to check out my website. But in that program, what we do is we dig really deep into what is it to create a brand. Essentially, like how do we influence the perception that people have around our business? And it's really game changing. Like it is my favorite class to teach. It takes a full 4 months to teach that class. And we always do it with a nice small group so the teachers really get to know one another so they can really support one another. And we dig into things like, how do you figure out who your ideal clients are? What are your business's core values? Like, how do we communicate our offers to people in a way that really shows people the transformation that they can experience when they're like welcomed into our business or our studio? And that's one of my favorite things to do.
And I actually, full disclosure, that's how Sara and I first met. Was I took it? It was called something else at the time, but your branding boot camp or what?
Yeah, you're right. It was called branding boot camp back then. Yeah, it was a shorter version of it. Yeah.
And it was so helpful because you need to know how to present yourself to the world. You need to know the colors you want, and you need to know what. My favorite part was the values, and I still have some core values that they're actually on my phone. So every time I open my phone, I get those core values. And, it really was just a lovely experience. And I'm still in touch with some of those music teachers that I connected with the first time in that course. So that's pretty cool as well.
That makes me so happy to hear that you're still in contact with people. That's exactly what I want to hear. That's amazing.
Yeah, well, because, as music teachers, whether you're a private music teacher or you are a music teacher that is, in the realm of the classroom, we're kind of on an island by ourselves. You don't have a lot of community. And that's where I come in is, I'm building community within the Happy Music Teacher Academy. And, Sara's building community as well in what she does. And, she's got so many amazing things to offer. So, Sara, what is the best way for people to get in touch with you? And we will put links to all of her resources in the show notes so you'll be able to find them. But tell us the best place to get in touch with you.
So you can find me at Savvy Music Studio almost anywhere. So like pick your preference. If you want to reach out on Instagram or Facebook, or if you go to savvymusicstudio.com, you can get a hold of me there. And I love connecting with music teachers. Even if you just want to kind of explore, we have a great newsletter that goes out every Monday where I send out some, kind of behind the scenes thoughts or thoughts about teaching, thoughts about marketing, thoughts about running a business, and we'll link things that are helpful, different resources that I've come across, and sometimes we put some jokes in there too.
And pictures of the cats.
And pictures of the cats, because we have to keep it on brand.
Yes, the cats are a big deal. That and your turquoise. Usually I was surprised you weren't wearing any turquoise today.
Oh, I'm not. You're right. That is weird for me.
And I wore my turquoise earrings and my turquoise watch in honor of you.
I love that.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast. It has been such a pleasure to see you. I've really missed working with you and seeing your happy face every month. And I'm really excited because I have already joined the Music Teachers Marketing Library, and I'm really excited to get to connect with Sara again and really kind of dive into, she's got this SEO course that I'm dying to get into. So that'll be really cool. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Jeanette.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. Explore more podcasts at www.teachbetterpodcastnetwork.com.
Well, that's all I have for you today. But before I go, I want to remind you, keep learning, keep growing, and keep being fabulous you.